I'm going to be, we only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to go through quickly, as this is more of a, yeah, just ask anything if you have any questions during the presentation. I'm happy to have an exchange while we're doing this, as it's a kind of between thing. So what we're doing at Foam is basically we're a blockchain company that develops geospatial standards, protocols, and proof of location. I'm going to go specifically into one part of this, which is proof of location, explain why it's important, explain how we're doing it, and yeah, if you have any questions, just ask me. We do a few things. We focus, as I said, on geospatial standards. We do the cryptospatial coordinate system, which is a standard for location-specific smart contracts. If you're building blockchain applications and you need spatially specific smart contracts, that's your thing. Spatial Index and Visualizer is a general purpose web application that can be used by anyone and reskinned. If you want to build an Airbnb that is decentralized, you don't need to build the map tool from bottom up. You can use our tool. It's an open source tool that has no tokenization associated with it. Use it, go for it. But what I'm going to speak about mainly is proof of location, which is a kind of way to agree on what is where without having to own the infrastructure that proves that something is where it is. And I'm going to go into how we do that in this talk. Basically, what we're trying to solve is this, right? So this is a conversation on Twitter, the magic platform many of us use, and is about unspoofable GPS. GPS today is spoofable on the client side. That has a lot of problems. And this conversation is about what happens, how would a decentralized alternative to GPS work that actually wouldn't be spoofable? And we're trying to build that. So dynamic proof of location is reaching consensus on whether an event or agent is verifiably at a certain point in time and space. So the way to think about that is a car in front of McDonald's right now? How do we prove that? Normally we use this system, which is amazing. It's a GPS system. It's 32 American satellites spinning around Earth. When you pick up your phone, they say ping, ping, ping constantly. Your phone says, oh, the pings have, it takes me that long to hear the pings, therefore I am where I am. The problem with that is it's very easy to spoof on the client side. So you, as a user, can say, oh, I misheard a little bit and I'm much further to the left, which means that there's a lot of implications of that happening. So as soon as we see financial value added to location verification, so let's say a GPS input automatically manifests as an Uber fare being higher, people start manipulating the GPS. So what we need, especially as we move into smart contract-driven automated processes that want to automatically execute based on a location verification, we need another standard than GPS because GPS can be faked. So what we're trying to do is verify location claims in a decentralized way. And the way we're doing that is using synchronized clocks and triangulation, the same way GPS works. So they have synchronized clocks and you know the difference in time and therefore you know your location. We're also using low power wide area networks, which is the radio standard I'll go into more. We're using crypto economics and incentivized proofs to create a trustless system that is Byzantine fault tolerant so that anyone can join the network and you can bootstrap the network much easier by existing networks that don't have to trust each other. And we're using different consensus models for local and global consensus so we can scale this. And I'll go through this quickly. So the idea is basically, now this should be an animation, but that doesn't work here. But basically, instead of having a system of satellites, you have a system of ground LoRa devices that reach consensus where object is in relation to them by the same process of triangulation. We're using the low power wide area network standard, or we're using the LoRa standard within that category because it combines both low power with very high reach in urban environments up to around 5 kilometers, in non-urban environments up to 15, and it compensates for that with very low bandwidth, so the throughput is very low, but we don't need that for just pinging time stamps. And they look like this. They're a bit like my thumbnail in size. And if I deploy them in Berlin, for example, I can very easily cover an urban environment And what's interesting is they're already deployed very heavily. So this is Zurich, the biggest, the Things Network community, which is a radio community of LoRa devices that today deploy these already. They're permissionless to deploy, so anyone can deploy them, and they don't have an economic incentive under them. What we want to do is we want to both use these existing networks, incentivize new network setup, by having basically economic incentives and basically having a Byzantine fault tolerance system so that the existing networks that are commercial can also join the system and just get, earn passive income. So the way this works is you set up a LoRa, which we call a zone anchor. You synchronize your clocks with LoRa's in your area. They need to have a clock associated with them. And then they form a zone by staking an amount of tokens. There is a native token, the foam token, that is only used for staking within the system. Microtransactions happen in whatever token you want. And basically they enter what is called a service level agreement. So they stake their tokens, and then an entity that drives through or moves through can basically get pays microtransactions through this zone and receives a presence claim, is what we call it, that they then in turn can use for proving their presence. So if I want to, get a Pokemon at a certain location, the problem with Pokemon today is that GPS can be easily faked on the client side. So kids just downloaded these apps and manipulated, which means there can be no actual economic value associated with Pokemon on a secondary market. If you use this system, for example, you would do a microtransaction, you get a presence claim, and you can exchange that presence claim for a non-fungible token that is a Pokemon, we have a system for proving location. So, I'm not going to go into this too much, but we're using 3 flavors of consensus. We have a synchronous radio time synchronization protocol. The zones themselves deploy Tendermint, they deploy state machines as a consensus protocol, and then we publish only the results on a root chain for scaling. Basically the result is this, is a Byzantine fault tolerant consensus protocol for radio triangulations. That uses, as I said, synchronized clocks and triangulation, low power wide area networks, crypto-economic and incentivized proofs, and different consensus models for local and global. We see this as a protocol that, together with the other stuff we develop, enables an ecosystem of spatial applications to grow. And this, of course, has huge implications among a large number of not only blockchain-specific verticals. So today, there is a huge aggregate demand in different industries to have location verification. Uber themselves has a 15-person team to just deal with GPS spoofing. So we're not only we're dealing both with the existing commercial entities that have a problem of non-verifiable location claims, and we deal with whole new economies that can be built on smart contracts and that can now act autonomously on location input. So what are the use cases built out of that? We don't know, but these are use cases that already exist today. So we have a bunch of partners in place. We're part of consortiums, both in the mobility, the IoT, and the general Ethereum Alliance. We're supported by Consensus, especially Token Foundry. We're doing a token sale for the staking token. We're also supported by Tendermint for the scaling solution, and New Lab is where we work out of in New York, which is an IoT incubator kind of thing. If you want to find out more, go to foam.space/token. You can also read more. This is a short version due to the time constraints. A blog.foam.space or developer.foam.space. We have a whole suite of developer tools that can be used today. We have an open API. Check us out. We're very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a question there.
Thanks, Arthur. Don't have time for questions, but I think people who want to get in touch with you can maybe meet you in the back, or actually, if you want to chat and socialize, please use the second floor so you're not disturbing the people in the audience. Our first speaker is here now, Pavel. Cool. As I introduced already, Pavel Romanenko from NKF Media will now talk about the blockchain ecosystem in Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, maybe I can just say a couple of words about me. It's a big pleasure to be here today. Great. I am Pavel from NKF Media. NKF Media is a media company from Berlin, and we are in touch with the topic blockchain on many levels. So I just wanted to give you just my impression of the blockchain ecosystem in Berlin, and yeah, just why blockchain is a great city for blockchain startups from my point of view. So NKF Media is publishing Berlin Valley and The 100. You may have seen these magazines. I think a couple of copies are here today, so you can just grab them. On the cover of the new issue is Zoya Adamovich from Neufund. So we're interviewing a lot of blockchain startups, and basically the whole idea behind Berlin Valley was born kind of out of curiosity. Our CEO moved to Berlin from Frankfurt, and he wanted to build his own startup. And so he wanted just to meet people from the Berlin ecosystem, to speak with them, to speak with the VCs, to speak with other founders. And the best way he could do it was just making a blog in Berlin. It was called Berlin Valley. It was only a blog of him. And he was going to some events, meeting some founders, interviewing them, exchanging the business cards, and so on. So Berlin Valley was born out of this curiosity for just the Berlin startup ecosystem. And it developed like to The 100, to other magazines. And I think it's the same curiosity why we're dealing with blockchain also, because interviewing the blockchain startups in Berlin, you can see this kind of momentum. I think you know like what I'm speaking about. If you met some blockchain startups here in Berlin, I think it's quite a great opportunity to meet like exciting companies, because previously we have had just like a couple of e-commerce startups, a couple of fintech startups in Berlin, but we didn't have this big tech ecosystem like in Berlin, maybe in Germany. So it was like really exciting interviewing these guys and speaking with them. Mostly it was like speaking with 5 to 10 people teams, and they were on some big business cases. So we hosted a number, oh, I'm too fast. Yeah. We hosted a number of events here in Berlin, like with Artyona, who was speaking previously today, but also like with Dominik Schiner from IOTA, with guys from BigchainDB and so on. So basically we talked like with a lot of blockchain startups. We interviewed them and we tried to publish them like in the print, online, and during our events. It's our like key topic because we are curious for this ecosystem. And we also have like our network online where we present the most interesting blockchain experts from Germany and maybe from all around the world. So basically we meet a lot of people and we want to tell their stories and to tell like why they're focused on blockchain, what is like their core statement, what is the most interesting about the blockchain ecosystem from their point of view. And that's what we are doing online. And before I move on, I have kind of a quiz for you, which is not connected to blockchain. You may have heard that Berlin is basically built from small villages who were joined to the city one after the other. And what is your guess, like how many villages it was? Like, if you think that it was like less than 20 villages, just put your hands up. Nobody thinks that it was less than 20. Less than 50? Couple of you? More than 50? Yeah, the vast majority. So you probably know the backstory. Berlin is built from more than 59 small villages who were like closing to Berlin one after each other. And every village has like its own church, it has its own administrative building, and it has its own structure of the streets. So it's kind of exciting. If you move to Steglitz, you see that it's somehow different from Marzahn, or you know what I mean. And what I'm trying to get to, I think Berlin is a really distributed city by design. So like the whole idea behind Berlin is like kind of distributed. It's a city which is built around many small villages who were then parted after the Second World War in two, and then going together like again. So it's kind of interesting. I think Berlin has kind of a story about decentralization, but it's not the main reason why all these exciting guys are here in Berlin. It's just an example of Berlin startups, right? So it's not only startups. You have Blue Yard, like as a VC. You have SAP, like a corporate who is a lot in blockchain projects. So you have a lot of companies in Berlin who are in touch with blockchain, right? And I counted just more than 70, so it's this slide here doesn't do justice for the whole ecosystem, I believe, but there's a lot of blockchain startups, right? And one of the things exciting about the Berlin, I think, I never felt this kind of momentum in the startup ecosystem here in Germany, because a lot of time German CEOs and members of the board are visiting to Silicon Valley or to New York and try to find the innovation there. And right now in Berlin, you have a couple of international companies moving here to Berlin to meet the teams here, which is exciting because we have like Consensus, which had a meetup here in the same building some couple of months ago, and Consensus is one of the global leaders in the blockchain ecosystem. And we have we heard so many times from people coming to blockchain events here in Germany, and they were like, all right, we want to meet like the guys behind Cosmos, or we want like to meet Parity and so on, you know? So basically, we have a core part of the Ethereum team, which was based here in Berlin, and around this, it was like built this huge talent, like teams like BigchainDB, teams like Satoshi Pay, which all like based in Berlin. So it's a great place to begin with. And the exciting thing is, I think it's also like the right time to connect with these blockchain startups. Because I'm from a media company, and we are meeting companies a lot. And I know the difference between a unicorn, a rather big company, in the way how approachable they are, and between like a small company. And in the blockchain ecosystem, you have all these guys who are working on their like unicorn ideas, right? And they are so approachable. You can just meet with them for a coffee. You can get some behind-the-scenes information about their plans and so on. And that's what excites me about this ecosystem. And I believe it's one of the reasons why I'm here today, because I think we have this kind of momentum in Berlin where it's not only the right place, but also the right time to meet with the blockchain startups, right? So the pictures, you maybe know it from Jeff Bezos, like they started Amazon. And if you go like, BigchainDB is kind of bigger today, but if you go like to some of smaller blockchain companies today, you will see like teams of 5 people who are working on mind-blowing solutions, right? So it's really exciting. I think we'll see some of the next unicorns from this blockchain ecosystem here in Berlin. So to draw the line, I think we have a great blockchain talent here in Berlin, and it's not like we shouldn't take it like for granted, because we don't have the right ecosystem to build ICO startups, right? So you would probably move to Malta or somewhere. But here in Berlin, we have so many great tech guys who are attracting more tech people who are moving to Berlin. We have a couple of great investors and VCs who were moved to Berlin also. And I think what we'll see in the next couple of months and like in the next year is even more international VCs who will come to Berlin to invest in blockchain startups. So I think we attract like a lot of venture capital. And a big thing about building a blockchain startup in Berlin is how you can cooperate with corporates which are working on their projects. Because I'm not only talking with blockchain startups, right? I'm also talking a lot with corporates. And every corporate right now has this fear of missing out. Everybody is thinking about their own blockchain pilot project, and a lot of them are cooperating with blockchain startups, as you know it, like IOTA is cooperating with Robert Bosch and with guys from Volkswagen. We have Lufthansa, which is cooperating a lot. We have SAP, which has a huge knowledge and is cooperating with both corporates and startups. So we have Pfizer, who is working with IBM on their own blockchain project. So we have like a lot of great companies here in Germany, and especially in Berlin, with whom you can cooperate, which opens like a lot of opportunities. So just to sum this up, I think the important part about blockchain ecosystem, not only in Berlin, but like in general, is this kind of momentum, because I'm talking to corporates a lot, and I'm trying to explain them where like the business idea behind blockchain is. And everybody is trying to think about this pilot project and how much worth this project is. But I think the core idea with blockchain is it's a huge gate to a lot of new technologies and to a lot of new business opportunities. And more than that, I think blockchain is drastically changing the way how we exchange data, how the user handles his own data, like who has control about the data, how we can exchange data. You probably heard about this pilot project from Daimler, who introduced this eco token like a pilot project, and basically introducing this kind of token is trading data with your customer, like to incentivize them with kind of token for his behavior, right? So I think we will see like a lot of more of these tokens, and we will see a lot more of models where users are exchanging data with companies. And the important thing behind that is like, oh no, wrong direction. Data is key, right? So you have seen this cover of The Economist probably. Data is the new oil. Data, like this competitive edge, if you have like a high quality data, is not to be, I don't know, you cannot talk it small because you have so many companies which are pushed from markets just because other companies built up this data advantage. And I think for every company out there, right, I'm talking like with different companies, and every company nowadays is a technology company and is a data company, and that's what they need to understand, because you cannot say that I'm only selling products or I only build goods. You are always a technology company nowadays, and data is key in this competitive landscape. I think the way how we handle with the data is also changing. We hear that scandals, that politics is involved like in this data scandals, and I think it's like what we have today, like the way we operate with data. And I think the connected devices have this great hunger for data, and we'll need like even more data in the future. We have this example from Intel with autonomous vehicles, which will need like a lot of data. But you see it everywhere. If you're building your AI, you cannot have like enough of data, right? So you need even more data to make it more precise, to teach your AI like to solve better problems. So basically, at the end of the day, it's all about the data. And so it's my main point, I believe. I think for all the companies out there, it's not the question if you should deal with blockchain or not. It's not the question if blockchain will be relevant for your business or not. I think blockchain is one of the main gatekeepers to understand how we will deal with data in the future. And I think every company out there needs to understand it. And I think, like I mentioned previously, in Berlin we have the right place and the right time, the right momentum to get in touch. So you're here today like to get in touch with blockchain startups, so you're already using this momentum. But I wish you to meet like more exciting blockchain startups in Berlin, and you can get in touch with me. We know a lot of guys, and we are happy to introduce blockchain startups to a broader audience. So yeah, I'm Pavel from NKF Media, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Pavel.